What's up, guys? Welcome back to Pound for Pound House. So, Happy New Year. It's the first video of the year. Unfortunately, I couldn't post in the last couple days. Just been a little bit under the weather. But hey, we're back. So, that's amazing for me. And hopefully for you guys. And hopefully, I can bring you some more entertainment. There's been a lot been going on. There's a lot been going on in the last 5 or 6 days. There's been a shit ton of stuff in the news with MMA. But what I want to touch up on again was Sean Strickland. So it was interesting enough to see what happened recently. He was on Theo Von's podcast and he, broke down, started crying, and obviously showed his softer side, I want to say. And it was interesting. It was different. It's a different side of him. It was something that was different, you know. And I was actually surprised to see it, but then I always thought, looking at Sean Strickland, you always knew that there was something behind the whole macho man guy, because it's always like that. There's always a story, right? There's always something. There's always this, little child that's scared, and which was the case, right? And his, as he spoke, and as he said, that was actually the case. He was, a scared child with his mom, and worried about his dad beating him, which is traumatizing as hell. Any kid getting beat up, or any kid getting beat by their parents, or abused. I want to say not beat, abused, because I got beat up when I was a kid, but that was because I was just not the greatest sometimes. But he was abused as a kid, and that's rough, man. I mean, no kid should ever have to go through that. That is, obviously when it comes to situations like that, those things are not something we should probably joke about ever, or, child abuse is never okay to talk about, joke about. But Mr. Ian Gary, I guess, kind of, had his 2 cents in the situation. And obviously he had his little, Strickland had his little sprawl with Drickus, which was, whatever, we're past that part now, right? I mean, obviously it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, which I'll touch up on. But quickly on Ian Gary, he said to him, which I'll post right now, and you guys can take a look at, that, he can't take a pinch, and, he attacked his wife or whatever. There was an argument that I saw from from DC's show. I was watching DC's recent video that came out with, and he was with Ben Askren, and Ben Askren did make a very valid point, which to me I find pretty interesting, and I want to get everybody's thoughts. I want to see if everybody thinks the same on that. At least I feel like this is a pretty valid point. He said that when Sean was making comments on his wife, on Ian's wife, she was, she obviously put out a book for WAGs, wife and girlfriend, right? And that book was obviously, there was designed to do, there's a reason behind it, right? How to be some specific something, which, it's kind of shady. Like when anybody hears that, it's pretty shady, right? That if your wife put out a book like that, and she obviously left it online for somebody to purchase, even after all this controversy. So it's a little shady. So, I mean, when somebody comments on it, it's because you left it all hanging out there. But that's not really the point. The point was that he said, Ian's a grown man. So if Ian's a grown man and he made his choice as a grown man when he married his current wife, or his wife, and he obviously knew what he was stepping into. I don't know if he knew about the WAG book, but he obviously knew what he was stepping into. He was stepping into a woman that had a child with another man, and she was much older than him, and whatever, that whole story. So he knew all these things. But as for Sean Strickland, he was a kid. He was a child. He had no choice. There was no something that he he couldn't avoid that. So, and once again, I mean, I get it. Still, don't bash somebody's wife, whatever, kids, and I understand all these things. But it's an interesting point though from Ben Askren, and I actually thought it was a pretty valid point. And Ben Askren kind of goes into it deeper, and he's like reading some parts of the book, like just a small little piece of the book or whatever it is, and he just or definition, I think he's reading it from Google, and it just tells you about WAG, and it makes you think that much more. But hey, maybe they have a great relationship, and maybe Ian Gary and his wife have a great relationship, and we're just thinking too far into it and being some internet trolls and jerks for no reason. But also Ian Gary's kind of a douche. He's not really, seems like he doesn't come off as the nicest or the easiest guy to deal with. I feel like, or the nicest guy to, And the other point that I want to make about his whole comment that he said was he was the same guy that was saying some shit to Neil Magny about beating kids. Was he not? Because from what I remember, what I recall, he said, Neil Magny said something about giving my kids a whooping. And he was like, I would never imagine that, doing that to my child or whatever. And so he was like hardcore, going after Neil Magny. But, in Sean's case, is like, well, fuck, that was just a pinch, buddy. But whatever. I mean, honestly, it's kind of a shit show because he's in for Sean Strickland at least, because he's in this weird position now. He's got to fight Drickus in 15 days, 16 days. And he's obviously just shown his more emotional side, and Drickus got him riled up. Ian Gary might not be going after him anymore, even though he made this list recently that I saw as well online. Must put Sean on his list or whatever it is. Well, it looks like Sean's going to be on his list. But, I mean, he's in an interesting spot. Does this really does this interfere in Sean's game plan? Does he start fighting really emotional? And what's crazy? I mentioned this before about Sean in one of my old videos. I'm going to go look for it if I can and try to see if I can link it below. I said Sean Strickland will be a superstar. Like an absolute mega superstar. And he's just the weirdest guy. And it's kind of happening with him. Especially if he beats Drickus. Man, oh man. He's definitely going to be a mega superstar. But yeah, I mean, does it affect his game plan though? This fight coming up for him, does it, all of this shit that's going on, affect him? Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, you got my thoughts on all this shit that's going on. But yeah, I want to hear what everybody thinks about this. Who do you got for UFC 297? And how do you think it goes down? Do you think Ian Gary eventually fights Sean Strickland? I think so. And I said this before too. So it could happen. But hey, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like this video. Also, if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you can see all the new videos I upload.